What's up, everybody? I'm here with my good friend Ben Greenfield.
So we do, we point.
We point like
Hi.
this. We point.
I heard
and
my
then
mom told me that was rude.
What?
My mom told me pointing at people.
My bad. I'm sorry for being rude. I think we're going to answer some questions, though. Or a question. Let's do it. Yeah, bring on the question.
How do you guys help your kids choose a sport or activity?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'll let you go first. Ben, so I had the opportunity to visit Ben in his home. It's been a while now. How long ago was it that I came to your house?
About a year, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So we go to Ben's house, and Ben's an interesting guy, very intelligent guy. And
I think.
when I'm meeting people for the first time, like anybody, you're trying to, kind of decide, is this a good person? Do I like this person? And I saw Ben with his kids, and he's a great dad. You're a great father. So immediately when I saw that, it's true. When I saw that, I thought to myself,
I'm not going to adopt you.
I like him. Oh, damn it. Okay. But I like him. So yeah, what do you do with your kids? How do you help pick out activities and stuff for your boys? Because you got two twin boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with kids, you have to strike a balance between pushing them outside their comfort zone, right, and having them do things they may not have done otherwise, that you allow them to discover things that they might not have struck out to discover on their own. There's no way that my kids would have just gone out and picked up a bow and taken up bow hunting, which is great for a kid to learn like that hand-eye coordination, and it's good for their eyesight, it's good for their vision. You get like conversion, diversion, like there's a lot of benefits that happen when a child shoots. Same thing with jiu-jitsu. My kids never ever asked to go roll, but I knew that would give them good body awareness and knew that it would help them to learn how to get in touch with another human being, whether they're in a fight scenario or whether they're in another sport scenario, like wrestling or football or a sport like that. Now, exposure to a wide variety of activities is different than
Forcing them.
Specialization and extreme specialization, a la Andre Agassi's dad in one specific sport. So I've exposed my kids to a wide variety of sports since they were 2 years old, but I pay very close attention to the ones that they really seem to dig, the ones that they really seem to like. I go out of my way to ensure that they get that dopamine release and that positive association with some of the sports that they like, but I also try to expose them to the ones that, not necessarily the ones they don't like, but the ones they might not have engaged in without a little bit of pushing from me. Sometimes they'll discover something like gymnastics, right? They had never done gymnastics. I brought them to gymnastics camp. They loved it, and they especially loved like the parkour aspects of gymnastics. So now in the summers they do like a parkour gymnastics camp. So for me, it's a process of exposing them to as many sports as possible, so they develop that muscular coordination, paying attention to what they like, not necessarily feeling guilty about exposing them to things that they never asked to do, because they're not going to discover it on their own. That's the strategy.
It's interesting because you brought up specialization, and there's a common belief that if you want your kid to be great at a sport, that you need to have them focus just on that sport so they can specialize and not, focus their attention on anything else.
10,000 hours.
Yeah. Right. Now, the truth is they've actually done studies on this, and they found that that's true for adults, or at least kids when they get older. But when they're young, the more things they're involved in, the better they perform at each of those things versus just being specialized. So unless your kid is like, a senior in high school and has a lot of potential in a particular sport, you're better off introducing them to different sports in terms of getting them to perform better at one individual sport, versus what we used to think in the past was, I want my kid just to be a soccer athlete, a soccer star. They're showing some potential there. That's all they're going to do is play soccer. The other part of that is because sports tend to require repetitive motion for a particular sport. For example, if you're in tennis, there's a lot of this motion. If you're in baseball, you're obviously swinging or throwing. If you're in soccer, there's a lot of, so every sport has its own movements that you do repetitively. What can happen with a kid is if you just have them do one sport or one activity, you develop potential imbalances, because these recruitment patterns become quite solid and they start to negate other recruitment patterns, and you develop imbalances. For example, if a kid is always throwing overhead, you're going to notice that they might start to develop a little forward shoulder, because this motion here is what contributes to the throw. And this is why a lot of kids who pitch, throughout their lives as children grow up and they can't pitch later on because they start to develop these imbalances. So I always try and look for a variety of things. I listen to my kids in terms of what they're interested in doing, because I don't think there's as much benefit when you force your kid to do something if they hate to do something. But here's the other thing that I really enjoy getting from, or at least I enjoy watching my kids get from sports. And that is, there's two big lessons. So besides the physical, besides all the activity, besides the hand-eye coordination, the two biggest lessons that I see that they can learn that will benefit them in life are how to lose and how to win. Those two things right there have so much carryover, in my opinion, to everyday life.
Yep.
How to win is very important. You know, we all know that athlete or that person who does really well at something, it blows up their ego. Now they think they're the best in the world, and they become afraid of challenging themselves because they've built this identity on, I'm always successful. And then there's the losing part. And we see a lot of this with, modern times with where, parents don't want kids keeping score. Everybody gets a trophy. I think that's a major problem for children, because life is you're going to lose at life many, many times as an adult. And if you don't learn how to lose and how to regroup and then apply yourself again and learn from your losses, boy, you're going to come out of childhood, you're going to get a job with someone who, isn't necessarily the nicest guy or whatever, nicest girl. You're going to fail at a project and it's going to be devastating, and you're not going to be able to grow and succeed. So I see sports as a way to take those lessons of life, kind of focus them down in this microcosm of baseball or basketball or soccer or football or jiu-jitsu or whatever. And, oh, you got your butt kicked? Let's talk about that for a second. Why did you lose? And if you really want to win, what can you do to make yourself better? And maybe you can learn from the people that beat you. And those are my favorite lessons from sports with my kids. But definitely, I introduce, just like what you said, I like to introduce them to a wide variety of things, and I like them then to help direct me with what they're doing. The other thing that was really interesting, I learned this over the weekend. I was watching these videos on YouTube there were some studies on kids and how well they would take the lessons that they learned as children and how they would apply them later on. And one of the things was, you want them to challenge themselves, but you don't want them to constantly fail at something, because that will also demotivate them. So you want to place your kid in something that's challenging enough to where they have to try hard to succeed, but not so challenging where they go in and all they do is get their butt kicked, because that'll kind of demotivate them, which I thought was kind of interesting, and it made a lot of sense. So
I agree with everything that you said, except the part about the value of teaching a child to lose, because we all know in this day and age, everybody gets a medal, Sal.
Yeah.
Nobody loses anymore.
Terrible.
It's a bull.
Terrible.
Everybody gets a medal.
Terrible. Have you dealt with any situations like that where your kid doing something they just don't tend to succeed? And what a great learning opportunity, I think. Or do you just give them a medal?
They always get a medal. They always win. I don't want them to ever feel bad about themselves. Yeah, you're spot on. And I mean, like, I have this deep down inside, living vicariously through my children. I used to want to be a pro tennis player. I played collegiate tennis.
That's right.
And I actually have had my kids playing tennis since they were 2. But I contacted Bob and Mike Bryan's dad, right? Top doubles team in the world, right and left-handed little boys, just like my kids, and he said the best thing he did for his kids was he put them in band and playing piano, and they played basketball, and they played tennis too from an early age regularly. But unlike Andre Agassi's dad, who had him at the net firing a ball machine at 120 miles an hour at him as he's standing there at the net, it was more of a balanced approach. So I think that's key is you have a balanced approach. And if you want your kid to be a pro athlete, you got to start them early. They got to get some reps in that activity. You mentioned the overuse syndrome, which is certainly an issue that you got to be aware of. But I think that you can have both, the best of both worlds. You can start a child at an early age in golf or tennis or soccer or whatever. Make sure they get regular, frequent exposure. And again, just 2 or 3 times a week, right? And if they get to high school and they realize, wow, I've been playing since I was 2, I'm really good, I could take this to the next level, let them roll with it.
Now you specialize.
Right, then you specialize, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, put in the comments. Share this video with friends who have kids who maybe want to put them in sports or might be a little overzealous with their kids in sports. This might be a good video for them. Also, subscribe.
We didn't say any bad words, so it's safe for kids.
Perfect for kids. Also, subscribe to this channel and set up your notifications, because we post new videos all the time.